everyone, and welcome to the Maitland City Council meeting. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Maitland City Council meeting of December 8th, 2025. If you would, please remember to silence your phones and fill out a speaker card if you would like to speak to us and go to the internet and the millions of people watching us tonight. If you would, please join me initially with a moment of silence. That's how we start our meetings. We will pledge allegiance. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And now if you please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is old business. Mark, is there anything to report?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a lengthy consent agenda. Does anybody on council wish to remove any items on the consent agenda? Okay. Does anyone from the public wish to address consent agenda items 2 through 16? Any of those 2 through 16? Seeing none, let's close the public period, and a motion will be in order regarding the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lauren, please call the roll.
Councilmember Shaney?
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie?
Aye.
Councilmember French?
Aye.
Councilmember Randolph?
Aye.
Mayor Lowndes?
Aye. Okay, we've adopted the consent agenda. We're already on to the public period. Would anybody from the public like to address City Council on any item that's not otherwise on the agenda that would be discussed? We have a taker. Okay. Welcome, Stacy.
It's been a while since I came up to pitch anything, so I figure I'm due. I'm Stacy Larson. I'm the director of the Maitland Public Library. All of you are actually too old for the thing I'm going to pitch, but maybe you know younger people. This Saturday is our Penguin Pajama Pizza Party. We will be doing penguin crafts, eating pizza bagel bites, having penguin games, and watching the movie Happy Feet. So that is on Saturday at 2 o'clock. It is going to be fun for the whole family. I also want to thank Parks and Rec staff, because we did attend Season of Light, and I know it rained and it was cold, but the first half of that event was marvelous. So it's always a good time to come, and we talked to a whole lot of people and had a lot of fun. Enjoyed watching people on the snow hill. I've never actually gotten to watch the snow hill before, so this was exciting for me. We have a huge slate of events that we were there pitching on Saturday night, so I'd like to invite you all as well. We are making our own pasta tomorrow. Tomorrow we are making pasta from scratch. Next week we are making cookies in a jar that you can give for gifts, doing collage, introduction to Qigong, and our American Girl Friendship Club will be celebrating the holidays with American history. That's on Sunday. So take a look at our calendar, maitlandpubliclibrary.org. We are coming up on the holidays, but we are busy in the meantime. Thank you.
Great.
Stacy, did you do the snow hill?
I did not do the snow hill. I didn't know I could do the snow hill until I saw the Facebook video.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What, the police officers? Yeah, that was good.
Full-grown man out there.
Yeah. Next year.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Lots going on at the library. Awesome. Anybody else from the public have anything for us this evening? Okay, seeing none, let's close the public period, and we're on to the decisions for the evening. First being second reading of ordinance number 1452. Laura, would you please read the ordinance title?
Ordinance number 1452, an ordinance of the City of Maitland, Florida, relating to the numbering of buildings and the naming and renaming of streets, amending section 5.15, building numbering and street naming of the Land Development Code, providing for general regulations of numbering of buildings, naming and renaming of streets, providing for requirements for street renamings, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Mark, would you like to?
Yeah,
introduce
just real briefly, talked about the last meeting when we had a request for street renaming. Come in and discovered that in our code we didn't have a policy or procedure for street renaming, so we had to put that application on hold while we drafted this ordinance. This ordinance lays out the application requirements and process, which are briefly discussed in my staff report and more detail in the ordinance. If you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to go back over it for you.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Mark, whatever? So how much is it going to cost me for John P. Lowndes Avenue?
Well, that application may get rejected.
Fair enough.
We don't want a John P. Lowndes Memorial Avenue.
Okay, good. Yes. Not yet. Okay. All right. Is anybody from the public? Let's open up the public comment period on this ordinance. Does anybody from the public have any comment? Seeing none, let's close the public comment period. And if there's no further discussion, the motion will be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1452, amending the Land Development Code, Article 5, Section 515, building numbering and street naming, establishing street renaming criteria.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cheney,
Aye.
Councilmember Randolph,
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilmember French,
Aye.
Mayor Lowndes.
Aye. Okay, we have adopted that ordinance. Now we have a first reading for ordinance number 1453. Lori, would you please read that ordinance title?
Ordinance number 1453, ordinance of the City of Maitland, Florida, amending the official zoning map, a part of Article 1 of the Maitland Land Development Code by changing the zoning classification of a property generally located north of Maitland Boulevard and west of Turlock Way, further described herein from plan development to plan development, approving a conceptual plan development for Lot 3 of Maitland Concourse North and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Mark or Mike, would you like to introduce this item?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Mike Daniels with the Community Development Department, here to present staff comments for the PUD, the Plan Development Amendment for Maitland Concourse North Lot 3. The applicant for the project is Marcus Geiger with Kimley Horn & Associates. Property owner is BPL Maitland Concourse North. The property is currently undeveloped. It's zoned planned development. The future land use is corridor district, and they are requesting approval of planned development for a retail use. The property is Maitland Concourse North Lot 3. It's situated between the existing drainage retention area to the west or southwest, and to the northeast is Lot 2, which is existing commercial space, restaurant, and retail spaces. The property is already zoned planned development, and it was approved as part of the original Maitland Concourse North plan development back in 2016. However, there were specific lots, including Lot 3, that were undeveloped and required as part of the ordinance to come back when they had a concept plan to get approval for their plan development, which is why they have to do a rezoning at this point in the process. Here is their conceptual site plan. They're showing that 12,500 square foot anchor building, as well as a 5,300 square foot additional building, where they're going to have, again, retail shops. They're looking at this point at a grocery store in the main building. Their access would be located off of Treelago Way through a cross access with the rest of the shopping center, or the Concourse Parkway, which is located, which would then connect them to Maitland Boulevard. They are showing 135 parking spaces, and they are showing a loading dock in the rear of the property. Here's again, the conceptual landscape plan. They are showing landscaping, both shade trees and shrubs along the front, along Maitland Boulevard. They're showing a pedestrian walkway, which goes from Maitland Boulevard to the front of the building, and they're showing landscaping along that pedestrian walkway, as well as landscape islands throughout the site. They're also showing, and it's harder to see on this diagram, but I'll show you better on the elevation, a couple of shade structures. One is located right up against Maitland Boulevard, and one is further along that pedestrian walkway. Again, part of the reason they're showing a lot of the landscaping and a lot of the shade structures, again, is to try to break up the expanse of the large parking area, which is identified as one of the things required as part of the ordinance, Ordinance 1303 of the Maitland Concourse North. Here is also their landscape plan, but this specifically is showing the rear of the site up against Concourse Parkway South. This is their loading dock area. It will be screened with shrubs and trees up against the loading dock, as well as on the other side of the drive aisle. There'll be additional shrubs and trees, again, to provide more of a buffer up against the Concourse Parkway South, which is, and then to the north of that is Lot 6, which is proposed to be residential development. Here are a couple of renderings of the property, and this kind of shows you a little bit more about where the landscape's going to be located. It also shows their main pedestrian walkway coming right down Maitland Boulevard. One of the things that was discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting was for staff to work with the applicant to try to come up with additional ways to try to break up the parking area. And what the applicant is proposing is to add another kind of pedestrian pathway along the western side of the property up against the drainage retention area. In addition to showing all the landscaping up along the front. Here's another image from a different angle, again showing the landscaping, showing you can see the shade structures. Actually, let me go back to the last slide. You can see the shade structures in the parking lot area, as well as all the landscaping along the front and within the landscape islands. Also, as part of the ordinance, they are required to submit. They're all required to be consistent with their master sign plan, which was approved for the entire development. So here's an example of their proposed monument sign, which will be located on Maitland Boulevard. This proposed PD amendment was taken to the Development Review Committee and approved unanimously on October 22nd, with the conditions to be met at site plan approval, that they comply with all the requirements of ordinance number 1303, that they have adequate capacity for water and sewer. They identify the amount of square footage which is dedicated to restaurant usage, and that there won't be any conflicts between any of the outdoor areas and the underground utilities, and that they provide easements for water and all other utilities on site. After it was approved through the Development Review Committee, it was then taken to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which did also unanimously approve the project, subject to, as I mentioned before, meeting the requirements of the DRC staff report and the city code, but also to work with the applicant to look for additional ways to break up the parking area, which is one of the things the applicant, which was shown on the revised elevations. So with that, staff is recommending approval on first reading of the proposed PD amendment. The applicant is also present, and they also have a presentation to give. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, let's start with questions for Mr. Daniels. Anybody have any?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, would the applicant like to present?
Good evening, my name is Matt Bloomfield. We're the applicant for the project. I'm with Harbor Retail Partners. We're the developer. Harbor is a commercial and mixed-use developer. We focus on grocery-anchored projects in the southeast. We're very excited to present this project to you all on Lot 3 in Maitland Concourse. It'll include a best-in-class grocery store, specialty grocery store, as well as some other upscale and high-quality retailers and restaurants. So we also own Lot 2, which is the existing Chilago Market development. We purchased that property a number of years ago and developed it and worked with everyone in the city to make that happen. And so really the vision was to, we already had owned Lot 2, and with Lot 3 being undeveloped for quite some time, the thought was, why don't we combine it and really kind of unlock Lot 3. Lot 3 has had some challenges. It's gone through a number of pre-apps, and a lot of different folks have looked at it, tried to do something with it. The problem is it doesn't has very limited access. The only way to access it right now is through the back on Maitland, Maitland Concourse, Chilago Vista, back here. So there's really no access to Maitland Boulevard. There's no access to Chilago Way. There's no access to the signal. And so we had thought that expanding the center really opens up and unlocks that critical access to where. So we're creating 3 different curb cuts. So customers can make direct access to Chilago Way and the signal through a few different connections. And so, there has been some notable retailers and restaurants that have looked at Lot 3 over the years and ultimately just couldn't get comfortable with it. So there's also, in addition to the access, Lot 3 also has a number of easements as well as setbacks that it's just a little challenging. It's very narrow, 2.5 acres, and there's just not a lot of space to be able to do much with it. So, like I said, combining it, really kind of helps unlock it and make it be able to be developed. The architecture is very similar to, the theme of Lot 2 and Chilago Market, as well as the other projects in the Chilago Master Plan community. So we've brought that over as well. And then, you all just saw this, but, we made a big effort and worked with staff per the recommendation to really enhance the common areas. We've gone above and beyond code in terms of landscaping, hardscape, and just trying to create a little bit more of a pedestrian experience. And so what we've done is we've created this pedestrian walk up the middle with trellis features, and then per planning and zoning's comments, we we're able to add a second pedestrian pathway along the west side of the property, which will have views to the lake on the west side. There's another view. Here's an example of some of the updated or enhanced hardscape features that we're going to be incorporating, as well as some of the additional landscaping and emphasis on bringing in some color and differentiating the colors in it. So with that said, very excited again to bring the project to the city of Maitland, and open up for any questions.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
I guess I have an obvious one, and that is Farmer John's. Is that the tenant that's going to go in there, or is that just a placeholder?
No, that's a placeholder.
Okay, all right.
I have a question on, so we're just making lot 2 and 3 one big lot, pretty much. In the parking area of lot 2, what are the trees that are currently there? 'Cause I've been there and I don't recall trees. Are there trees on lot 2?
Yeah, there's, I mean, it's, per the code and what was approved before.
I mean, what kind, do you know offhand what trees are
I know
in
there's
the
a-
middle of the lots that are kind of?
Yeah, I know there's a number of elms, I know there's some live oaks, I know there's crepe myrtles. This is all, this pedestrian walk here is lined with pink crepe myrtles. We also have some bougainvillea on the palm trees over here. And then, we like to, rather than just having, all hardscape up against the buildings, there's foundation planters where we have trees and to kind of break all that up as well. We'll be doing the same on lot 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just, say, listen, I really hope that, you've named some good ones with the elms and the oaks and stuff, and I hope we consider those, because I've gone to a lot of parking lots lately where they've had the crepe myrtles, and they're like 4-foot crepe myrtles, and it just looks super tacky. And I know this is a great project, and lot 2 is beautiful already. So, I just would like to really see this be something very special. So, if, something with the shade tree, I saw there were in the diagram, a lot of palms in there, that when I see palms, sometimes they just look kind of bad, and then, there's not much shade with them. I'm not really a palm lover because I like a tree that's a shade tree. So when I park, I have something to shade my car a little bit, keep it cool in Florida, right?
Yeah.
So I would just kind of like to steer you to maybe looking at that as a possibility.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, I love everything. I love the walkability that you added to it. I know that I was just talking to somebody on planning and zoning, they were telling me about that, and that was their concern. And I know when it goes down there, it connects to that little loop that goes around. And so for me, I could ride my bike there, and it would be great. And then for people that are part of Lake Faith Villas, it would be a great option for them, because I think a lot of them have safety concerns there, like trying to get to and fro. So that's a nice little addition. So nice touch.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. I have a question about lot 2, the store that's there.
Yes.
I guess if you're going to have a specialty grocery store in lot 3, what does that do for lot 2?
Good question. Yeah, so as you all know, that was intended to be a grocery store. Didn't happen. It wasn't site specific. It was more global. But we've signed a lease with a fitness user that's going to take the entirety of it, and I believe they've already submitted for building permits. And so we really it's really kind of from our view, it's really perfect for kind of the daily needs and health and fitness and kind of the elevated, we like fresher concepts for food, and so having the fitness on one end with the grocery on the other, has a really good balance. And so yeah, that you'll start seeing some signs pretty soon for the fitness user.
Okay, great.
I have another question. So, on the back part of it where the deliveries are taken, you were talking about, putting some bushes and stuff like that up. Another suggestion I would say is, for the people in the apartments and the people right behind there and the people on the lake, just making that as opaque or thick as you can to absorb whatever sound. I know it's hard to do and there's still going to be sound, but anything that would help. I mean, if you put in a small bush, it's not going to do anything, but if you put something in that maybe would absorb it a little bit. I don't even know if a wall or is something to look at, but yeah, I know you want to keep the natural beauty, and I'd rather have that too, so that would just be a suggestion to y'all.
Okay.
And to the city, so please consider that.
Okay. Anybody else, any comments at all? No?
I just wanted to pick up on Vice Mayor Guthrie's point about riding a new bike there, because I thought the same thing. I know Farmer John's is popular, so.
Yeah.
I wondered if there might be provision for a bike rack, or I don't know whether that's commonly something you need to provide for, but just because of the location here and the fact that people could, take advantage of those, the wide sidewalks and the bike lanes and all of that, alternative ways of getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's required by code, so
Oh,
we have, I think, 2 or 3 of them on lot 2. We'll have more here too.
thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ride my bike to go pick up my chicken feed at Farmer John's. And
Big saddlebags.
yeah, big saddlebags.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's open it up for public comment. Does anybody from the public have any comment on the proposal? Okay, seeing none, let's close the public comment period. And thank you, Mr. Applicant, for this. I'm sorry, can I get your name one more time?
Matt Bloomfield.
Matt Bloomfield. Okay, thank you, Matt, for the presentation.
Matt, y'all come in from Wilmington? I saw the applicant was from Wilmington.
Yes, our company's based there. I'm actually from Fort Myers, so.
Oh, okay. I used to live in Wilmington, that's why I was wondering.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And we've closed the public comment period as well, so is there any further discussion on this item?
Just to add to Vice Mayor Guthrie's comments about the trees, I think Maitland's pretty good about trying to keep the heat island effect at bay. So they do require a lot of canopy trees in projects, especially large parking lots. So I'm not as concerned about that. I think the city pretty much, the code has been established that developers are required to make sure that we have enough shade in our parking areas.
Yeah, that's good. I was a little concerned when I saw it was, palm trees and then crepe myrtles down the middle, because, I don't know if you've been over there to the plaza where there's like off of Old Forest City Road, where there's a Winn-Dixie and everything, but they tore down beautiful palm trees and put in 5-foot crepe myrtles, and it just looks horrible compared to what it used to look like. So that always scared me. I always kind of look at that scenario and think, I don't want that to be made.
My main concern on any project these days, especially with canopy trees, is the root zone.
Yeah.
With parking lots, unfortunately, a lot of compaction of soils really impact the oak trees. If they do in fact put live oaks there, that's got a larger root ball than your other oaks. And I know one project we worked on at the Turnpike was ripping out all their old oaks that didn't do anything, never grew, they were stunted, and put in other mechanisms to allow the root balls to grow better, wider, and have more moisture down to the root ball. So whatever they do here, I would hope that they're looking at that type of construction.
Yeah, like a pervious area around them.
Yeah, they were called root vaults, and I'm sure Kimley Horn's landscape architects are familiar with those as well. But it's allowed, they will support vehicular parking on top of it, but at the same time, it gives that tree a lot better chance of growing to full maturity.
So Bill, and you would know 100 times better than I would, but I'm to believe now there is a oak tree where the root system kind of grows more straight down and spreads out like the live oaks do.
Yeah, I'd have to defer to Joan on that one and their landscape architects. Again, I think, that sounds great, but a lot of that root growing outward is stability of the tree. So, the height of the tree and the mass of the canopy needs something to support that. I'd hate for people to develop something and then the hurricane comes along and rips everything out of the ground because it hasn't really got proper root zone.
Yeah, I mean, red maple's a good one too, so.
I don't think that spawns out, so there's some good trees out there.
Okay. Anybody have an inclination for a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion on first reading to approve ordinance number 1453, plan development rezoning amendment 2025-0002, Maitland Concourse North, Lot 3, 601 Trelago Way.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember French.
Aye.
Councilmember Randolph.
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaney.
Aye.
Mayor Lance.
Aye. Okay. Squeaks by on first reading. 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay.
John, always good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Y'all did a great job with the lights outside. I sat out there for 20 minutes. It's amazing. Whoever did it, top notch. And I said like Disney-esque. It's perfect.
Okay.
I'll take it right off, chief.
And the lines are shorter.
Save yourself some money. Clean up. Okay, our next item is two items, performance evaluations for city clerk and city manager. And this is something we do every year as part of the review. The evaluations have gone out. We turn to run evaluations and we consider increases, salary increases based on that as well. So it appears that we have city clerk received an average performance evaluation of 4.9 on a 5-point scale. So that doesn't get much higher. It's a little bit higher, but not much higher. We have an awesome clerk. We're very happy with Lori's work. So we don't really have a script for how this goes. I think we discuss it for a little bit and then determine what, if any raises due, and if so, what would be the appropriate range. And I don't know if anybody's got any points they'd like to discuss on that. But if they would, now's the time.
I think I'd be looking at guidance from you and from the vice mayor, because you've been here doing this process. This is 3 of our first time, on it, so.
Okay. Well, I talked to Liberty Gondar, who is the HR director, and yes, we've been through this several times with our city managers and city clerks, and it is always a little bit odd to handle these things. So, usually it's a manager and an employee, and you discuss your things kind of in a personal way, but so we're doing this in the public view, which is appropriate, but a little awkward. As I understand it, there were across-the-board raises this year for city staff of 3% already, and I think that Lori received the 3% raise along with most of the other staff as well. I don't know if anybody else has talked to anybody in HR about what the salary levels are or where they're. I believe, and Laura, please correct me if I'm wrong, because you'll know this probably better than I. City clerk was at 118,000, went up to 121,000. I don't have the exact number, with 3% increase. And we typically, that whether or not there's an increase is kind of it's a determination done, I guess, by city manager and HR or city staff. It is up to us, since the city clerk and city manager are directly hired by the city council, and so we're their supervisors. So we sit essentially as a 5-person HR body on the city clerk and city manager. So, Laura, those numbers sound correct to you? That's what I heard numbers today. So.
No, I think I was at 118 with I went from 115 to 118.
Okay. You went from 115 to 118. Okay.
3%, the next number.
It,
That would be $3,540 more with that 3% increase.
right. And so generally, the size of the increase we're talking about, I think, is, somewhere between the range of 2.5 and 3.5 on top of the step that's already been incorporated. And the 2.5 is kind of the low end, and 3.5 is really just at the meets expectations end. But it's 3.5 seems to me to be about what would be appropriate on top of the current salary, incorporating the already 3%. And that would bring her up to, yes, somewhere in the neighborhood of 21, I believe. So I would suggest that a 3.5% increase is appropriate. There are, it's an odd thing to do comparisons, because often you'll find a city clerk has been in a place for 20 years or more, and sometimes they're very new and have very little seniority. Laura, you've been with us for 4 years now, and you've done an outstanding job, and you had 4 years, I think, in your previous. In Texas, right? So you got a fair amount of experience in the role, just 4 years with us. I think with a 3.5% increase, that would put you in the range of what the clerks in Sanford are making, or the clerk in Sanford is making in Tavares. Castleberry's a little higher, but I think that's mainly a function of the long term that the clerk has been there for a couple of decades. Winter Park is a little lower, but I'm not sure what the story there is. But I think we'd be in the neighborhood, I think, of having an excellent clerk, wanting to keep her on board, wanting to keep her happy, and she's done an excellent job, I think. We can go through and read the comments and rescore it, but 4.9 out of 5 is pretty darn high. And I think Lori's done a great job of organizing the office, kind of standardizing the issues that are in the clerk's office, kind of bringing, kind of modernizing and bringing to bear organization that the clerk's office needs. And certainly you're a well-known, at least locally well-known, elections expert, and that is one of the very key jobs of a city clerk is the elections, and Laura's done an excellent job with that. Kept us on board with our charter and updating our charter, making sure it agrees with the statutes, et cetera. So I would suggest that a 3.5% raise is appropriate. And I would be happy to hear from everybody else on that as well.
Yeah. So that's 3% plus 3.5 for a total of 6.5. They get a 3% increase for
That's
cost of living, right?
Yeah.
So it should go up 118 plus that 3% plus this 3.5%.
Yeah, there's a merit aspect, I believe, to the.
No, no, I'm at 118 with the 3% that was across the board.
Okay.
This is not an additional 6.5.
Oh, so you were 3% less last year. You made
Correct.
whatever that would be away, 115 or whatever. Okay, I got you. So, John, I would say, just make it, I would just say 3.5 is $4,130. I would just kind of maybe lean in just to making it 4%, and that would be $4,720. So that's would be my suggestion.
Okay.
That's a difference of $590 throughout the year, which I think she's Well, worth extra $590.
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I know, listen, and I know this is not my money, this is not our money, this is the people's money. But, you know, she does a great job for the city, and I think, you know, everybody would kind of agree with that. Hmm?
For the people.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. Well, everybody have any?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Bill, good? Okay. Vance, would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
Yes. Let me see what I got in front of me here.
Oh, wait, I think we have to put this to.
We have to take this out to the public.
Public, yes.
Yes.
Anybody from the public would like to comment
For that motion.
on this item before we get down to further business? No? Okay. Let's close the public comment period, and the motion would be in order.
Okay. Then I would make a motion after the 2025 performance evaluation of Lori Hollingsworth that we provide a 4% raise. Anybody wanted to clean that up for me?
Okay.
4% merit increase.
Merit increase. Boom.
I second.
Okay. We want to, just to be crystal clear about it, when would that take effect?
January 2026.
Okay, effective January 2026? Is that-
Yeah,
that's
it's effective January 2026.
Okay. And accepted as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
All right. Laura, we have a motion. We have a second? Second, okay. We have a motion and a second. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Randolph.
Aye.
Councilmember French.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaney.
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie.
Aye.
Mayor Wells.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. That wasn't awkward in the least, was it?
Never is.
Okay. Now we are on to the city manager's annual review. City manager received an average performance evaluation rating of 4.9 on a 5-point scale. And again, we have, I think, stellar marks across the board and good comments on that. And, I think we have the same, again, the city council has 2 direct hires, and one is the city manager and one is the city clerk. So every year we'll go through this and make sure that the city manager is meeting our expectations, and here he's far exceeding our expectations. So that is good to know. And Mark, I believe, also received the 3% across the board, just like Lori, so we've been there. And is it after the 3% mark? I want to throw this number out. Is it 263.51? That's before. That's before. Okay. So you received a 3% increase on top of that. And now we're talking about a merit increase.
No, that was after. Sorry, John, I didn't understand your question. That's after.
Okay, it's after. So your current salary is 263.51. And so, this is, we also do a kind of a canvas of the local cities. There's no direct fit because Maitland is, not everybody has the exact same configuration of Maitland, whether that's the size and the number of people employed or the people in residence, the number of businesses. So they all vary by different factors, more or less. The salaries also likewise vary, but I think we are, we want to attract and keep very talented people running the city of Maitland, which is, I think, what we're doing. At the current salary, Mark is at the, at a good range in the upper quartile, probably, of the local communities around. Winter Park, I think, and these numbers that I'm going to throw out are numbers that were from last fiscal year, so they will probably be adjusted as we are adjusting ours today. Winter Park's city manager, roughly 269,000. Ocala, 267. Winter Garden, I believe, is also 267,000. Ocoee, 233. Oviedo, 225. And these are, it's hard to compare ourselves to others. They have the same problems we do on that score. But as difficult as this is, we have to make a determination about it. And again, I think the salary increase would be, consistent with what we are doing with the city clerk. I would start with a suggestion of 3.5 as well, increase on top of the 260 for Mark. And that's where we're at. Right? And again, I think, we can read the results and the comments from the city staff, but I think it's also the feeling I get, as I understand from department heads and city staff generally, that Mark is doing an excellent job. Mark is always there when you need him. He's going to respond to all communications and all phone calls immediately. He's going to keep us informed so that we know what's going on and respond to our neighbors and folks in the store when they ask what's going on. We'll always be forewarned. I personally sleep better at night knowing Mark is out there on the wall, as it were, with keeping the city fire department and the police department and the public works and parks and rec and all the city rolling ahead as it is. We just had this last weekend, for instance, the nice event we had at Lily, and it's just just emblematic of I think where we are as a city that it runs so smoothly, makes us all look so good, and I think a lot of that is down to Mark's leadership in this. So I'm very happy and comfortable with recommending a 3.5% raise, with the understanding that somebody might have other views. So I'll open it up for everybody else who has any comment on that.
I'll kick it off again. So, first of all, I got to say I agree with a lot that you said. In fact, I sat down with Mark, went into his office, and had a chat with him. And every piece of advice, everything Mark has told me in the last 5 years. I think 5 years, the last 4 years. I've never found a piece of what he told me not to be true. It's always very truthful. It's always very factual. Numbers are the right numbers. Back to it, I can rely on Mark 100%. And that's awesome to have. Like you said, sleep well at night. And Cliff knows this. When we were looking to hire Mark, I went through a process where I also went down the line of all the city managers in the area and kind of did a median of where those would be with cities of our size and everything. And that's kind of where I got my number when we were talking about, what a starting pay would be. So that being, I did do the math. If, I would go for a 4, again, if we're going to pay Lori, we should pay Mark. So at 4%, that would be 10,500. I don't think I did 3%, 3.5, but it'd be 10.5 more. So total. So he's at 263. That would bring it 5. That would bring him up to 275.
275.
Yeah. So that would be my suggestion. Nice clean number. Just round my back speed.
You mean 270.5, right? Or not 275?
Well, he's at 263, right now, 5, whatever the other part numbers were that you quoted. And then with another 10,500, I think that, if I did the math right, that would bring it up to 275. Is my math right on that, Mark? Okay.
Actually, as I'm looking at the pay plan, I'm currently at a little over 260, so 4% bring me to a little over 270.
All right, bring him up a little over 270, 4%.
Yeah, so that's what I get, 27,751, is that what you? Okay. So at 4% would be 277,51. Okay.
So currently, it's 263,051,
263,51.
351.
Is that correct, Mark?
Double checking right now.
263,510.
I am currently at 263,351.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had, 263.51, and then the 10,000 would put you up to.
Well, that's what I'm trying to, so
Yeah.
263,051.
260,351.
260.
Oh,
We're hearing it different.
Okay,
260,351.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that 0, that's where I got it. Okay. So bringing close to,
I'm coming up with 270,765.
yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody, let's open the public comment period on this. Does anybody from the public have any comment on this item? Seeing none, let's close the public comment period, and the motion would be in order.
okay, let me do this again. Let me see if I can get it straight this time. All right. Ooh, what just happened to my, oh, thank you. I did not bring my computer. All right.
That's
A
our
motion.
focus on electronics.
I'd make a motion to authorize, in the sole discretion of the city council, a salary increase of 4% for the city manager effective 2026.
Okay, January 2026.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Guthrie.
Aye.
Councilmember Shady.
Aye.
Councilmember French.
Aye.
Councilmember Randolph.
Aye.
Mayor Lyons.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much. And I think I speak for Lori too, as I know, because we were talking today about this, is that we certainly appreciate you recognizing our work, but we take more professional pride in the reviews you gave us and the comments you made than the financial remuneration. It's doing this kind of work is kind of passion work. You gotta love it, and it does take a lot of time, a lot of extra time. But we do love what we do, and we love what we do for the city. And we appreciate the 5 of you doing what you're doing too. It's truly a pleasure to work for a city council that is professional and kind to each other, and even when we disagree, we do it in a professional manner, which is not what I'd say 90% of the cities in Florida can do. So it's truly a pleasure to work for you. Yes, Cliff nodding over there because he deals with those other cities. So yeah, we're very fortunate on a number of levels in this city, and that's just one of them. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
It might be one of the beach that's kind of like that.
No comment.
No, Mark, and I'll just say this, I mean, really, your leadership and Lori's leadership, I mean, it trickles down, and we see great hires here and great managers. I mean, everybody back there is just rock stars, and I'm just saying this in my own way, but y'all are rock stars and everybody's just awesome. And it's not really the five of us up here that make the city. It's you, it's those guys managing their staff and all the staffers that work so hard to make this a great place. And that's what makes Maitland Maitland. So, I mean, thank you for the leadership on to both of y'all. Appreciate it.
Okay. That didn't hurt a bit. All right, we have one final item to discuss, and it's the Fort Maitland Historical Marker. And so looks like it's up to me to introduce this item, unless, looks like Lori's going to take it.
Oh,
You want to introduce the item?
no, I was just turning the computer back on. It's all you.
So we've discussed it before, the kind of putting a marker back up where one used to be, and just, I think Maitland really is, I'd say quite unique, but it's lucky in the sense that it does have a connection to early Florida. I mean, not every one of them does. I mean, I don't think Winter Park does. I don't know past very long. I mean, Fort Maitland was built here, almost 200 years ago. It's long gone, but it is, and it has some continuity here, and I think it's worth recognizing that whenever you can, especially in Florida, as a place with not a, it's kind of is not recognized as steeped in history, but perhaps it's because people are not paying enough attention. That's what Scott Smith does what he does, to help people pay attention. So I think we're lucky that Fort Maitland has that, or Maitland has that history, and I think it's up to us. We would be well served if we had a historical marker there, kind of helping people kind of connect the dots to where we come from and where we are. I think the process would be, that we discussed last time, would be to come up with some proposed verbiage for a historical marker and put it to the state, the State Department of Historical Resources, or Scott knows much more about that than any of us up here, but I think it's probably a give and take process. You propose something to them, they come back with some revisions, you hope that they'll get behind it, and the advantage of it would be that it would go into their database of historical markers. People could find it easier, perhaps, if it were blessed by the state to do that. It's not necessary that the state sign off on it. We can do what we want, but it'd be nice to have the kind of imprimatur of the state on this. So, Scott, do you have anything to add on that part?
Yes, so I served as chair of the Florida Historical Marker Council for 2 years and a member for 2 years before that, and enjoyed the process of reading the text that came to us from the staff. So you're right, the people proposing it work with their staff to come up with a draft, really, hopefully close to finished draft. But I will say, sometimes they got to the council, and we spent a fair amount of time asking questions of the applicants and trying to get clarity on factual issues. Sometimes it was trying to modernize, in a sense. A lot of people putting these forward are not as steeped in history. They're enthusiasts, but the council is made up of scholars. They have an architectural historian, we have an anthropologist, and I as a historian. And that was very good, and we found that the people were very receptive to the changes that we proposed, and then we got to get them down to the exact word count. We would spend 4 hours on a Zoom call with maybe 15 proposals, and we would just stay until we were done. We would exhaust people, but we would work them over, and sometimes we'd send them back. Sometimes we'd say, staff, can you work with the client to fix this problem, because we can't fix it here. They need to go back and do a little more research. But I would say, the beauty is, I wouldn't be worried about the council being, stuck in the mud. Something like, 40, a perspective that's 40 years ago, maybe when this market was created. The council has evolved along with the times, and is very receptive to changes, I think. So I just wanted to put your put you at rest if you worried about making changes to the sign that's there. Not that I'm saying it needs changes, I haven't even looked at it, in fact, so I don't know how you feel about that, but that the council, if the clients came in with something that needed to be updated, we would be the ones to suggest, this really needs to sort of reflect some scholarship, more recent scholarship. And the question I had was, I understand that we have one side now, with the sign that was there, but we're talking about now additional space because we would have text on the other side. That's wonderful. So I think that's very exciting.
Yeah, the marker that went up was put up in 1936.
Right.
35.
Yeah, and it was, probably before they had such a council that would, learned scholars would kind of come out.
I think that was based on the local citizenry committee and Dr. Hanna at Rollins College that wrote the book and then developed the language and got the dedication of the site for that plaque in Coquina Rock. I looked at this a little bit differently because it is in the database right now, the sign location. If we established and just redid the sign we had and put it back in that location, it's really not applying for a new sign, we're just replacing what was there. And now that we know the budget's not a whole lot cost-wise, we can always create other signs in that same location that describe other things that happen there as well. So I guess the question to me is, do we just simply put the sign back because the old one was decayed enough after almost 100 years, put back a better quality material, the same verbiage, it meets what was approved already. We don't have to go back to the state. And then if we want other historical markers, I think we need to start looking at maybe a historical marker program and maybe engage also the History Museum and their folks on this to try and come up with some other places that we can establish. I mean, there's a marker over in Lake Lily by the railroad, pedestrian crossing of the railroad. There's a sign there about the rail history here. So we do have other opportunities in the city of Maitland to establish. And I think, again, I know Councilman French does a walking tour. And so, again, to have some of these commemorative signs in that walking tour in Maitland wouldn't be a bad idea. So, we can do all the sign if we want. Whether people will read them or not, that's a different story. But I think, again, if you can put them on a walking map, those kind of things where people feel like there's a historical trail. I mean, there's very few of us that probably remember the Cultural Corridor Master Plan that was done years ago and what that intent was. And it was to go from basically the Maitland Art Center all the way to Fort Maitland Park through Lake Lily and establishing this culture where people could walk through there and see these things. I think there's another sign about the Black Bear Trail over there. So all these are, I think, important historical aspects.
Do you know, Bill, if either of those are in this historical database or those?
I don't think those are. I think the only one was Fort Maitland.
Okay.
Because that was a roadside, that was 1792, and that was really the program, was roadside historical markers.
Well, I like what you're saying about, the efficiency of simply replacing it as kind of one-off, and then thinking more broadly about signage. But the only and I don't know what the time frame difference would be, because even to replace it would take time. To create the marker, I think they had a real backup for a while getting these things made, but that might have been back, post-COVID. Yeah, about a year and a half. So to get a sign made, once you've decided on the text, and if this was the same text, there's just no review process, so it eliminates the review. The only argument, sorry, turn this off. The one, I don't see it as an argument, just an opportunity. The other side of the marker does present an opportunity, and I don't know, I might have mentioned this to Mark, but there's a letter from a descendant of the Beasleys that's their property over
Yes.
there, right? And she's writing about seeing Seminoles there in the 1870s. And I just thought we could make that the flip side, would be maybe to sort of connect, use some additional information. And I think, John, maybe the idea of the Seminole War, I don't know if that was part.
I think in the packet, there was the flip side of suggested language.
I could not open, I have to say, I had talked, Mark was on the phone, and I could not get the packet open today, but it's okay, I didn't have time to read it.
So that's the sign I'm talking about, maybe
Yeah.
a second sign in the park there that talks about the Seminole inhabitants,
Right.
that they,
Right.
what Lake Maitland was named under them.
So instead of it being on the flip, so I guess what I'm trying to understand is the sign that is there, it was not the same language, was it the same language on both sides?
No,
or
just the language on one side.
On one side?
Yeah.
And you're suggesting that instead of putting new text, different text on side 2, which is common, thank you, great. So that, that you just replace it as is and put something else elsewhere.
Yeah, another sign, yeah. I mean, again, if we're talking $3,500 for one of these signs, that's minuscule.
So,
John, what do you think?
I proposed, I don't know if you all, you're reading it now for the first time, but so if we're going to do a sign about Fort Maitland, we can do a two-sided sign. My goal was the first side there is, it was kind of, basically was the same information as on the historical marker. It just says this is Fort Maitland, across the road was Fort Maitland. It was built in 1838. Fort Maitland was a day's march north and Fort Gatlin a day's march south. Built and named for William Seton, who was born in New York, and he was in battles of, he had three, he was in 3 battles. And so Maitland, Fort Maitland was named for this person who was in the Seminole War. And the flip side of that is what the Seminole War was. So then, so it gives the context of it, so it wasn't just Fort Maitland was there and there were some battles. It was like, well, the reason Fort Maitland was there was because it was part of the Seminole War. The Seminole War was carried through the policy of the Indian Removal Act by Congress. So, so the flip side is, in 1830, Congress enacted the Indian Removal Act. The purpose was to move Indians from their homelands to reservations in Oklahoma. And the war went on for 7 years. And the descendants of these people now are the Seminoles of Florida and Oklahoma, and the Mixougis of Florida, and there are 2 black communities as well. There's they're kind of across the river from each other, the Rio Grande. So one's in Coahuila, Mexico, and the other is in Brackettville, Texas. And so the Seminole tribe was really kind of an integral part of the Seminole tribe was the black Seminoles who had escaped slavery in Carolina or Georgia or Florida. So they were kind of a real integral part of the war. And so, I guess where we are today, so we had the historical marker we put up in 1835, and it had the information of Fort Maitland there, and that's great. The lucky part of today is you don't really have to tell the whole story. You can save words because everybody has a supercomputer in their pocket, can say, oh, what was the Second Seminole War? And immediately you don't really have, this is really kind of just giving the bare facts and why it was important, and let people go and find their information from there. But so it seemed to me that it was a good symmetry in having, Fort Maitland, there it was, that's why it was here, and the other side is why it was here. It was named for William Maitland, and he was in these battles, and he was a brevet captain, and then on the other side, why was Maitland here, which was the Seminole War. So
Can I just chime in, maybe with a suggestion?
this is a discussion.
Yeah, and so being part of an organization that just bought their church in Scotland, the one thing that we're doing right now is we're doing a plaque for the church. Now, it sounds simple, a plaque, just like, we're sitting here saying, oh, this is easy, we should put this information. I would suggest we do this in parts. So, because in this plaque committee that we have 5 people on it and myself. And we probably spent 4 hours on this already, just trying to design a plaque and what should go on it and what it should look like and blah, blah, blah. And it sounds simple, but, it's not, when you say, there's a lot more into it. So what I would suggest is say, put in the application, and I don't know what goes on with that, but I would say put that in, and then we come back later, and then we have this discussion of what the plaque will look like, and then give the city that to go forward and get some designs made.
It's a set design.
Oh, it's a set design.
Yeah,
If
they'll-
you go through the Florida Historical, it's a set.
But I mean, you still have to put in the verbiage and all that stuff, so we come back and,
But this is, I think, John, if I had seen that, I'm sorry,
or can we do a subcommittee of like,
That's what I was going
3
to suggest.
people?
Yeah. that we
Like,
just-
Steve and I, you 3 are dialed in. I think Steve and I would be happy to bow out and let y'all provide that.
So
verbiage.
my proposal, Vance, is really about, we've already got a plaque approved. It's already there. It's-
You just wanna remake
It's
it.
in the database. So you could simply recreate that plaque, put it in place where the old one was at. It was removed because it was in disrepair.
But we want to put more information on it.
And then we could, as a council, we can create another plaque. It doesn't have to be on the backside. It can be adjacent to it or near it that would describe what John's talking about, the Seminole Wars. And that we can do that by ourselves without going to the state and getting their approval. And that could look at like any.
Because that would just be an information plaque and not a historical.
I think
But
that'd be a
still
missed
be a
opportunity.
historical plaque.
I think that'd be a missed opportunity to pair these two narratives, and I don't see any need to have, this is me, I mean this respectfully, I want the information, I completely agree that there could be more plaques, and I really am in favor of all of that. I just don't know, this particular story that John is proposing for side 2 ought to be separated, or even nearby, because you've got the back of the plaque, and people are used to reading, well, it'll say continued on the other side. I mean, I think if we were to do this, we would have to give it to the state, but I don't know how long that would really delay it, and I don't know whether we're on a time, crunch here. I mean, it would be good to know. So it's something worth asking. How much more will it cost? Because it will cost more to do a second side. And then secondly, how much time will it add? But I'm going to say philosophically, I would be for using that blank side. It doesn't, unless there's some reason people aren't going to have access to the other side, that we should use it. And I like the argument for doing it, because really, you read that original statement and you're right, there's no explanation of the Seminole War. It's so narrowly focused and it just cries out for that. So I guess I would argue to keep this question open for the subcommittee and explore and get answers to sort of say, can we have, unless there's an argument for not doing it. I think the argument I'm hearing really is this is more expedient to do it this way, to just reinstall it as it is. But I'm not sure how much more expedient it is, and we still have to make another sign, and the cost of making another sign and putting it nearby, and it may not match, unless it's going to be part of a much, and this is going to extend the time. If we're going to have a bunch of these other signs, we're going to have to figure out whether we have a unified, sort of branded set of signs that are going to go all across the city. So it raises other questions about, it may take longer to figure out. So I think this is something we as a subcommittee would probably be able to work out pretty quickly and bring back to the full council. Have all these issues, and I love the fact that you're expanding into a wider sort of understanding of signage. And I like that John is saying this is an opportunity to tell this story in a more fuller, better way. And I loved reading what you wrote. I just thought it was very well encapsulated.
Well, thank you. I tried to get it down, we have 1,235 characters or something like that.
Yes.
Not words, but characters.
Characters, I'm sorry, it wasn't words, it's characters.
Yeah, it's like down to the commas. So I shaved it down to the bare minimum that I can get in there.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think we lose much, because everybody has, the ability to go find out for themselves what they want to find out. If they're interested, they can look at it.
Yeah.
You go to the Black Bear Trail, sign that we have in Lake Lily. Like that one, for instance, I think you can stand in front of that one been puzzled that out for a long time. Trying to figure, it's just a lot of words on one side, you know, it's almost too much.
You go to North Carolina, and they have 2-sentence signs, sometimes 1 sentence. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
beautiful, they're poetry.
Yeah. And, you know, it's important that who it was named for, because it is, you know, that's the name of the city and who he was, and it kind of gives a connection, it's a historical connection. But out of context, like the old sign, you know, I'm reading the text of it now, and it talks about a war between the United States and Seminole Indians, and it doesn't really tell you why there was a war or what they were doing, or it doesn't even name which war it was. And so it just seems to me that there's not enough context in there to be helpful to me. I mean, it was written in 1935, so it's kind of dated, I think. But it's the bones of the information are there, so I think they're important to put in. But I think we can also expand on it, because we have, like I said, the other side of the sign, it's just going to be blank otherwise.
And a question for Mark, to create this subcommittee, is it just a nod, or do we need to put it on the agenda for
Do
approval?
it tonight, you can just agree to the grant subcommittee tonight.
Okay.
All right.
John, you would chair it?
You have I'll be happy to chair it. I think we can all get along with it. It's just going to be down here.
Yeah.
Steve, we haven't heard from Steve. You interested in being involved in this?
Oh, I'd love to be involved.
Would you? Okay, all right. All right, so, man's your excuse.
Good. Excuse me, I'll take
Do you
it.
want to add somebody from the Historic Society?
Yeah.
We can off.
Vance is walking.
Well, either, Katie Benson there usually takes care of more of the history stuff. Either her or Danielle.
Okay.
Might be interested.
I think it'd be, we haven't made the historical society, it should be involved.
It's good because of what else you're talking about here,
Yeah.
which is a
Wider, broader, yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of, they should be part of this, because that's part of the discussion.
Okay.
And out of this, do you think we're going to come up with maybe a model ordinance for historic signs? Policy?
If we could have, might have a policy for that. I was just thinking this was really just for this one.
Yeah.
But we could bring a policy suggestion back to the council to do that if you want. And create a policy.
You know, it's unfortunate, but we've lost, I don't know how many historic homes, not that they could have ever been saved, but if we would have had some type of ordinance, at least document before they were torn down, we would have three-dimensional scans of them. We would have at least some historic perspective of those homes, and many of them water house built.
Yeah.
So we've lost a lot of that history on the structures here, and where they're located, we know. But as far as their size, dimension, rooms, the special features, I know Oakley had the first elevator in the house over there. And so that's all gone now.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Bill, do you know, is Brian Stewart part of that organization, the Historical Society?
what, Maitland Historical?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
If he's not, I would also, because he knows a lot of history about this, I'd also maybe reach out to him, invite him.
As a citizen, yeah.
Okay.
Just a cautionary word, the larger you make the subcommittee, the more unwieldy it's going to be.
Yeah. Right.
So just. as
Well,
you're
why don't we,
making your decision.
so if we have 4 of us, to make it an odd number, we could add either Katie or Danielle.
And these will all be public meetings, so they'll be publicly noticed, and anybody can come and participate, so
Yeah.
you still have to follow the sunshine laws.
Yeah, and we'd be interested to know, what the backlog is, what their current schedule looks like to do this, thing. Because if it's too long, we can just do it ourselves.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Well, that's why I brought up, if we just replace what was there, it shortens our time frame quite a bit based on what their backlog might be. Because we don't have to go through their approval process. Then, if it's not a roadside historical marker, it's just a Maitland marker that we can put it where we want and put on it what we want.
Right. My suggestion, we can get into this with our subcommittee, but I think the park is, because it's a high traffic area, and more
Yeah.
people are going to see it. Okay, well, so is it agreed then we're, 4 council members and either, what do you think, Danny or?
I think we just ask them who they would like to volunteer for.
Okay. And then we can schedule a meeting. You're doing it. Okay. All right, done then. Reports. Mr. City Attorney, anything?
Yes, sir. Today, well, first of all, I know that some of you may not have heard of the case. There's a case currently pending against the city, it's Wilson versus the city of Maitland. It is a physical takings case, which means the allegations of the plaintiff are that water intrusion onto their property has been diverted there by actions of the city. It doesn't have to be intentional in terms of the proof that's required. At any rate, that case has been being defended by our insurance carrier. The liability portion of it went to trial today. I think our representative, Liberty Gondar, was there. Tomorrow they have closing arguments, and then the judge has announced he plans to make a decision right after the closing arguments. So we should know the outcome. But that's only the liability portion. If the judge finds in our favor, then this meeting I'm about to talk about will not need to go forward. If he finds against us, then there will be the reason for the meeting I'm going to ask for, which is a shade meeting. Shade meeting, for those who've never done it, is very specific under the Sunshine Law. It's an exception to the Sunshine Law, but it requires me to follow some very specific things in order to get it done properly. So I'm going to go, I've got the statute in front of me, and I'm going to make sure I follow them to the letter. So the first thing is I have to advise you, as I'm doing now, that I desire advice concerning the litigation. The meeting that we would have, if you would agree to it, will be confined to settlement negotiations or strategy sessions related to litigation expenditures. In this case, I should be clear that it will be not me, at least in person. I haven't determined whether I can attend virtually or not. I will know. But it is important that you know that it will be Don Roper and whatever other lawyer he might bring with him. The attendees at the meeting might include me if I can attend virtually. I'll be in New York. But otherwise, it will include all of the council members that can attend, a court reporter yet to be named, and Mr. Regenton. Those are the only people that can attend. There's no exceptions, and there's no way around this. Anybody who's attempted to get around this because it's an exception to Sunshine Law has failed, and then the whole thing doesn't become private, it becomes public record, and there's also the potential for someone taking it to court and alleging a sunshine violation. So that's why it's very important that we follow this. The way these work, if you agree to one, is that the session is recorded by the court reporter who's there, and everything is on the record. There's no off the record anything from the time that you go into the session to the time that you come out. The court reporter then transcribes the record of the meeting, and it stays filed under seal with the clerk until the litigation is complete. That means the litigation is completely over, and there are no appeals, and everything is done. And then the transcript becomes a public record, which is why it is often called a delayed public meeting as opposed to a shade meeting, because the results ultimately will be public record, just not during the pendency of the case. But if you are inclined to do this, then we will need to get a date, and the proceeding, when we agree on a date, will occur. I'm guessing we'll start here and maybe then end up in the anteroom there, or maybe a conference room upstairs. That'll be determined. But how it works is you open the meeting in public, like here. You notice it as a public meeting for here, just to simply go through a script, which I'll provide to the mayor, and announce that we're going to go into the shade for a period of time, hour and a half, whatever we think, to discuss this litigation. You'll announce at that time the same thing I did today, i.e. the attendees will be council members, blah, 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 the city manager, Mr. Maitland, the attorneys, blah, 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 and the court reporter, Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, such and such agency. That's it. We'll now adjourn to the whatever room we're going to adjourn to do the shade meeting. We start the shade meeting, go through whatever we're going to go through, stay within the boundaries that the statute provides, and then we come back into the public to reopen the meeting. We don't have to take any action that time, or we can, based on what you learned, we can take an action such as maybe that we make a settlement proposal with these terms. That way they don't care how we got there, all that stuff is what can happen privately, but then if there was official action taken, it'd be taken in public, just like a regular public meeting. Or no action at all, or whatever the case may be. But you have to open in the public and close in the public. That's how it works. So with all that having been said, I don't know if Mr. Regan has a date to suggest to you all, but that's where we are now, if you're willing to do it. So I guess the first thing is to find out whether or not you're willing to do this meeting.
This is the case that I discussed with
Yeah.
you individually, so.
Yeah, I'm willing.
The question is whether we're willing to have a shade meeting? about
Yes.
this?
Because then we don't go to, if you just say no, we don't go to schedule.
Yeah, I think a shade meeting would be useful if we have to get there in the early meeting.
And as we also discussed individually, looks like January 12th, prior to the next council meeting at 4:30, would be the time you could all make it. Okay. That would be good.
Okay.
And in this room.
All right. That's where we'll open, or that's where we'll have the entire proceeding and lock people out?
It would be more efficient just to do it here.
As long as we can do it without being broadcast,
And
as long as we can do it where people around us can't hear, I don't have an issue.
And I'm just not sure about, people are putting their ear to the door.
So we can play it by ear if nobody shows up.
We can't play it by ear because we have to do it on the notice. We have to say what's going to be on the
Let's
notice.
go.
Yeah, so we could convene here, and then go upstairs for, the court reporter is the only person willing to be.
There's a big conference room up there, that probably makes good sense.
Yeah, and the ante room's a little bit small for the number of people that could be attending.
That's fine.
Yeah, it wouldn't take us long to get up there
No.
and back. That probably is the most logistically easy thing to do, and not worry about, if the purpose of it is to be in the shade, then let's go in the shade.
Okay. All right.
And that's so, but then tomorrow you'll find out whether or not that's even going to be necessary.
If what the judge said today holds true, that he will announce his ruling on liability, then if he says, yes, there's defined liability, then there will be a need, because the next phase of this is damages, and if you don't understand how a taking trial works, it's a 12-person jury. So it's like capital punishment, only for governments on the wrong side. It's the only other case that requires a 12-man jury, 12-person jury in Florida, and they decide what is the damage to the property owner that should be paid by the government for the physical invasion taking. And I will simply point out, I do not know what, if any, of this might be covered by our carrier. This is something that Mr. Roper may be able to provide some information on, at least in terms of the limits of our coverage, but he will not be able to advise us on whether we have coverage. It's a separate issue. And you should note, too, that in terms of how these are defended, if we get to that point, Mr. Roper will provide an appraiser or appraisers to see if there's been any diminution in value of the property, and if so, how much. And then it's a battle of the experts regarding what the damages will be as decided by a jury of 12.
Okay. Anything else you need from us on that?
No, sir.
Any other reports from city? Good
Hold
news.
on your hats for property tax reform, that's all I can tell you.
So I had a chat about that today. They said there's a lot of still hoops to go through, and how the House and the Senate,
Oh, yeah.
the fighting, and it's not going to be anything in the near future down the road.
It's hard to know what will happen, but if you've listened to any of the intelligence offerings around the issue, they are focused on having everyone who is claiming a home or a homestead exemption be exempt from property tax. And that, if you cannot imagine, would have a tremendous impact on local governments. The propaganda, and I'm using that term advisedly, that goes along with that is, well, most homes in Florida, most property in Florida is not homesteaded. But most local government property on which we rely is, and that's the issue.
I was talking about that today, that, if that happens, you can say bye to calling 911.
Or among others.
That would be the least of our worries.
Yeah. Well, 911 is pretty important when you're having a heart attack or... Yeah.
All right, reports from Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, just a few. To follow up on a couple items that have been sitting out there for a little bit, we were informed by our insurance carrier that the covered bridge is covered under our insurance, so, and that's replacement value, so we will be getting an architect under contract to do a couple renderings, bring those to city council so you can get some direction on what that design is going to be. They will be recommending some differences in design, just from a pitch standpoint, so we can shed materials a little bit easier, so, but we'll be bringing that forward as soon as that's done. We have our initial kickoff meeting next week with everyone that's involved for bonding for the library, so we are on track for that to be ready in April as we move forward with construction, so that's on the way. The final library plans are scheduled for your next council meeting to have HBM present his final plans to you. Don't get too excited. You saw how much plans changed from conceptual to 60s, and 60s to 90s are pretty much the same too. The biggest issue is going to be the site plan, where we have some comments on the site plan, so you'll see some differences there to address how the park actually lays out. So, since those are at 90%, those are going to be coming forward. Santa Parade this Saturday, December 13th, starting at 10 a.m. This year, there's an added feature on the police department and city webpage. There will be a Santa tracker. We'll be tracking Santa around the city with GPS, so anyone can log on and see exactly where Santa is. That's always everybody wants to know where he is and where he's going and how long it's going to take to be there.
So is NORAD providing that?
That's confidential. I can speak to you off the record on that. So no, Robert's done a great job updating that, because that's usually one of the biggest issues. When's Santa going to be to my house? And then when he comes close enough, why didn't Santa come down my street? I had to walk a whole block to get my candy from Santa. So, which will be unavoidable, but happens every year.
Hey, I'm vice mayor and he doesn't come down my street.
Been naughty?
Maybe not so nice, but not naughty.
That's why I smell barbecue from the coals in the backyard.
The movie in the park this month, again on December 13th at 6 p.m. Is Abominable. We have our next Get Down downtown, January 2nd at 6 p.m. right here in the park on Independence Lane. And our next big event, January 31st, is Maitland Police Family Fun Day. So that's going to be here again in Independence Square. It's our police department's answer to National Night Out, which has proven much more popular than any National Night Out celebration. So the police department does an excellent job with that. We usually have a couple thousand people show up, so that's always a good time. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk.
Yes, I am on tonight's consent agenda. You adopted the resolution for the 2026 upcoming election, and I have a correction from October 13th that I need to get reflected in the record. I had reported on October 13th that the advertisement, and pursuant to section 100.021 of Florida statute, that the advertisement for the election would run on November 1st and November 18th due to a publishing error with the Sentinel. That notice, for the record, to reflect that ran on November 12th and November 19th. Oh, and we have our council member-elect who qualified unopposed, Mr. Randolph. And for Vance's Councilmember Guthrie's seat, we will have a election between two fine gentlemen, and Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Trauger. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Lauren. Anybody on council, any reports from?
I got some really quick stuff. At the MAP meeting the other day, they are doing a retiming program of lights The only one that really will affect us is at 426 and 1792. I asked the city of Winter Park what it was. I don't know what 426 is, but it'll be
It's a Loma.
Loma. So it'll be a Loma at 1792 that'll take effect in. Some of the things that we were talking about was really cool. They have it in one of them in Jacksonville, but it's called a Turbo Circle Roundabout. This is where you have 2-lane roundabouts, but people were having a hard time figuring them out. So they put a barrier in between the 2 lanes, and that's really helped because now if you want to get off, you just get in the near lane, and you're closer to the circle if you're going to go more around and then cut through and get off. So it was a pretty cool concept. I also had a discussion about the timing of the lights and what we can do right here for the train tracks, especially when you're taking a left off of Maitland onto Horatio. That is really problematic because if you're 2 or 3 cars behind the first person in line and the light turns green and the road starts backing up, then you can get easily caught on those train tracks. And I know the police have done ticketing there and stuff, and a lot of times, I mean, you're kind of stuck. And it puts you in a bad situation because you're 2 or 3 cars back. You can't see what's going on around that curve kind of because 2 or 3, there's still an opening. So I did ask him what we can do about that. If there's any sensors that we could use to really time those, or even timing of when this light turns green to that one, and see if we could have better timing on them. So that was one of my discussions with him. So that and Florida State women's soccer is on right now. It's halftime, 0-0 against Stanford. Go Noles.
Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else? Okay, then let's adjourn.
Are you coming Thursday? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday. Okay. That's how you doing?